Hello, everyone. Lindsay Price here, and I am with the lovely Trina Baring. Hello, Trina.
Hi there, Lindsay. Good to see you.
We are talking about one of our new plays today, written by Trina. And first of all, I have to say, Trina gets full marks, because not only is she ready to talk about Frankenstein versus the Horrendous goo, she has a set. So, Trina, say something so that we can see your set.
We have beakers. And this is just, we put this together very quickly. They're just colored. It's just colored water inside these beakers and everything. So it was
you get full marks for being theatrical as we talk about a very theatrical piece in a lot of ways, in terms of character development, in terms of the types of characters that are in this play, in terms of physicalization. Little hint, there is a lot of goo in this play, but you don't actually need the goo to perform it. Also some psychology that's going on. Now, this play's for middle school, but there's really some interesting layers that are going on in Frankenstein versus the Horrendous goo. And so the first question I have for you, Trina, is why did you decide to write this play? What really sparked you?
Well, I went to a middle school play, and it was one of the theater folk plays. So I was talking to them about that, and they said, "Oh, we're always looking for plays that are cross-curricular. So we're always looking for plays that might bring in science, might bring in history." I already have a history play, so I was like, well, I could do a science play. I could do a chemistry play. And so I just went home, and the ideas started coming about incorporating chemistry and the psychology bit and the theater bit just kind of came as it went, because it was like every student has different interests. So the characters all have different things that they're really focused on. And like there's a chemistry club, but within that there's one who's really interested in science fiction, and then there's another one who's interested in psychology, and another character is a theater person. So that showed everyone's interest to sort of get all that in there. And then Frankenstein, there's a kind of a little trick with Frankenstein, because Frankenstein is really scary, but in the end, he kind of might be a little bit of a hero. So that was a nice little turn up, that things are not always what they seem. So for middle schoolers, people that you might be afraid of or think are different might not really be. They might turn out to be kind of big lugs.
I think that is the key point in this play, is that you have groups of students. You have a chemistry club group, but within that group, every single one of those students who are characters in the group have something else. They are not the stereotype chemistry club. They're students, they're kids, and that they not only do they have different things that they're interested in, which is part of their character, part of their personality, which is great for character development. They also have to learn how to work together to deal with the mutant polymer, is the wonderful term that they used to get rid of.
People call it the mutant polymer, and the theater people call it like, it's goo. And there's a basketball guy, and the characters don't always get along either. There's some little tension in there where the characters are a little bit of a rivalry between a couple of the characters who kind of don't really get along and are frustrated with each other. There's a little romance too, that there's a little kind of crush that a couple of the characters have on each other. That's a real fun thing. And the students really came from kids that they're sort of everyday kids, and then they get thrown in this zany situation, and they act like they are kids, and they have to get along, and they have to figure out a solution. So that shows them working together, like you said, and it's also like comedy gets very zany. So some of the solution is unexpected, and some of it is they have to think about it. It's not a long play, so it's simple. It's not, the solutions are kind of simple. They're not complex.
But that's okay too. I mean, I think that that's it. What is really important is that there's a problem to be solved, and they work at it. You know, they don't fall to their stereotype. They actually think. And I think that's amazing in a comedy to have, which is usually about characters usually instinctually and gut reacting to their situation. These characters have to put their thinking caps on, and they enjoy that, and they actually make it happen. I also I think that the whole thing, we talk about romance, there's the admin person who is, again, a stereotype, and we have Frankenstein, a stereotype, and they completely come out of their what their roles are to sort of really to shine. And I think I really like that. I think that's one of the real reasons that Frankenstein versus the Horrendous Goo is in our catalog, is because of the not only the chemistry aspect and that they have to come up with the solution, but the character aspect. Was that the most fun to write?
Absolutely, because there's always this character versus story versus plot, but it's like a plot has to be character driven. So the character that you were talking about, the administrative person, she's the attendance officer. And she's just this really stereotypical rule following attendance. People call up and she's like, no, you can't be excused. I don't care how sick you are. And it's funny lines. She gets all the funny lines, I think.
And she has this huge denied stamp.
Got this denied stamp, and she's like, whack, whack, whack. So obviously got some inner demons going on there, right? And that's a real fun character to play too, because when our high schoolers were helping me out with the timing of it and everything, everybody wanted to be that character because it's got that little, but then she's got this sort of soft spot, and she doesn't really understand why nobody likes her, and she's, and then she develops. And I think all the characters, I try to get it even in a short play, to get all the characters to have some kind of development. And that's where the psychology comes into, because the characters had to face what it was that they were holding on to that was essentially holding them back from being with the rest of the group. Like the sci-fi person is really addicted to his sci-fi magazines, and he needs to grow out of that. And there's a little twisty in the end with that too, with the chemistry person. So,
and I want to add in there that so all of the characters get slimed, as it were, and then after they're slimed, they end up with an object. They call them their transitional objects, and something is stuck to them. So exactly as you said, so the sci-fi guy has something stuck to him. The mom whose kids graduated 3 years ago but still keeps bringing cupcakes has the cupcakes stuck all over her. And it really takes this play to another level where, yes, it's a comedy, yes, it's zany, but there's a whole psychological element about our comfort zones. And when do we, and middle school is the perfect time to talk about this, when do we leave our comfort zones and jump into something different?
It is about that, because it really is about what you're glued to. The characters even say that. I mean, and it's zany. I mean, it's really crazy because like one of the characters has a basketball net over his head for most of the play, which can be done really simply. I mean, we worked on that, but it's like they have these things that are just goofy, but in the end, they have to face that, maybe this is not all they have to have as a crutch, that they really can let go of these things. Like the mom who keeps baking cupcakes is like, well, I can let go of this. My kids have graduated. It's okay to let go. It's okay to grow. And it's okay also to kind of to admit that you do like these things and that that's part of who you are. So it's very middle school, very, very middle school.
So let's talk about the goo. So the goo is a huge part of the play. This chemistry goes awry, which creates this mutant polymer, which slimes its way throughout the entire school. But you're very specific in the instructions in the script that you don't need the actual goo, that it's the physical acting of the characters. So talk about developing that, and why did you decide to go in that direction?
Well, when I was talking to this middle school teacher, she was talking about they have no budget. They don't have a lot of, I mean, you can see that it doesn't take much props. You can just say chemistry very simply. So I was like, well, what, and also what she said was that we want physical comedy. The kids love to do physical comedy. They love to do things that they can mime, that brings out that action on set and on the stage. So the goo, when I first thought about, okay, it's going to be taken over by the goo, I thought, well, you know, we can't have actual slime coming onto the stage, but the kids could mime that. And then that would be a way that all of the characters would show in their own way that they were getting gooed. And it's pretty easy. Like, you know, they have to kind of fall down on the ground and be, we're getting taken over by slime. But if they're all working together to do it, so it's a very good ensemble piece as well, because they all have to mime the actions together. And it has to have some blocking with that gets the kids learning how to do blocking and learning how to do that physical comedy. So that makes it an ensemble piece where it's going to be obvious that there's slime taking over. If they're all screaming and going to the ground, then you know what's happening. You don't have to have the actual physical slime there. And the kids love it. The kids love to do it.
Well, and then there's also like the technical aspect. So there's actually something for the tech kids to do, because you talk about how you want chairs and tables to kind of be knocked over, and to do it really simply, to have a string, hold it onto tie it to a chair, and have that happen from off stage. And I like that. I think that that's really great, even particularly with a middle school play, to have some technical elements that that kids at that age can start exploring.
And there are places too where the kids, like the telephone rings, and there's buzzers, and there's things that kids can do with the sound effects, but they're pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of complicated changes. There are a couple light changes too. There's a lot of lighting a little bit in there too that can just be done with the flick of a switch on the wall too, because there's lightning that comes in when one of the characters says, what else can happen? There's, you know, we know something's about to happen, right? And so there's lighting, there's sound, because there's the telephone ring. It can all be done really simply. Our kids, the kids that were helping with the timing of it, were just doing it with their mouths. You know, they were going ring, 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 ring. So, I mean, you know, if you were just doing it as a learning play or a competition play, you could do that. But you could also go to town with the sound effects, have the sound crew, have the lighting crew, have all that extra stuff that the tech kids can do.
So what would be your piece of advice for someone who's looking at Frankenstein versus the Horrendous Goo to put on? What would your advice be to teachers and directors?
I guess I would say two things. One, focus on the performances and focus on working with the actors, and don't fret about the technical aspects, because they really are doable. And then the other thing would be to fit it to your program's capabilities, because sometimes I think teachers know, you know, these are the resources that we have, and so this is what we're going to have to work with. And teachers know how to fit a play within those resources, and so that's what I think this play can do, because it can go from very simple to you can go to town with all these effects, but you don't have to.
Awesome. I love that. Oh, Trina, thank you so much for chatting with me. We have Frankenstein versus the Horrendous Goo. Awesome characters, awesome physical opportunities, awesome technical opportunities. I think you've got it all in one package.
Thank you so much, and thanks to Rice for University. Here we are in our simple set.
That's right. You've come ready and prepared, and that means that everyone should know that your script is also up on point. All right. Thanks very much, Trina.
Thanks. Bye.